Hello, everybody, and welcome to the LFC Transfer Room live stream with myself, Stephen, and alongside me here is Anil. Tom will be joining us shortly, hopefully in a couple of minutes. He's just messaging me there now. He's running a wee bit late, but I hope everybody's doing well on this lovely Monday evening. We are going to be previewing Liverpool's revenge game, I suppose, if you want to call it that, against the Nottingham Forest, the one team in the league that we've lost against so far this season. We won't count the Spurs game because it's over two legs. But yeah, we'll just do it that. Is he wrong yet, James? I don't think he is. Personally, both him and Paul Joyce have yet to say that we are out of the race. The only person that has said that we haven't made any sort of a contact yet is Fabrizio Romano, and it's not like he in the past 12 months has any sort of a clue of what's going on in our club. He absolutely hates that fact too. But until it comes from David Ornstein or Paul Joyce, and I wouldn't heed it. Look, what they said either wasn't incorrect. We are interested. We would make a move if it was a market availability, and if he was leaving Napoli. Now, I don't want to be rude, James, when I say this, but that's not how PR works, and I don't know if you're joking or not. So that's why I'm saying I don't want to be rude, but it's not PR. I don't think, like, personally speaking, and I think Anil would agree with me as well. That's not how PR works. Is everybody, and I know I see that word thrown around an awful lot on Twitter and everything like that, but it's not exactly going to help. Like, if it was positive PR spin, they'd surely sign somebody to get eyes off the contracts rather than say we're going to sign somebody and never be interested in them at all. I don't get how that is beneficial to Liverpool at all, even in a PR situation. If anything, that's bad PR, which is not what they want. So it's for them to sit there and think, we'll just spin a couple of bits about a new transfer to come in. They'll definitely forget about the contracts. And then when February 1st hits and your man isn't signed or he's gone to somebody else in the meantime, all of a sudden we're going to be like, what were those contracts? We forgot about them. And then that PR spin, I don't think works. I'm assuming this is Daniel, in relation to Kvaratskhelia. He's had one season where he was great. He's had two, and he's on for another one this season. We've Tom just joining us now, so we'll get Tom in on this as well. Tom, appreciate you joining us. I know it's a wee bit late, so you're all right. But Daniel here is asking about Kvaratskhelia and if he's had one season where he was great. He hasn't, personally. I don't think he's had two seasons in a row where he's gotten over 20 goal contributions in Serie A. And the last person that we signed from Serie A that done that was Mo Salah. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be Mo Salah, but that seems to be the running trend. But we're going to move on to looking at the preview for tomorrow. And Tom, as you see in the title, it says it's a bit of a revenge game. Possibly could be. We've NUNEZ suspended, obviously, as well. You might see somebody like Jadon Danns maybe get on the bench and maybe get another run a couple of minutes. I don't think he will in this particular fixture, but it's something to be interested about. And Jamie, just to go back to this, Caicedo was nearly agreed. A bid was accepted from Brighton. Tony Bloom said that himself. Zubimendi had given us the okay and then turned tail in the 11th hour. It's not that there were players they knew they weren't going to get. We had a bid agreed with Caicedo, and we had basically Zubimendi, personal terms and everything else agreed all the way to the 11th hour, and he told Richard Hughes yes and then turned tail, and now was spinning their own PR on it. There's an awful lot that goes on behind the scenes that we don't obviously know about. But anyways, we're going to talk about the game tomorrow. And we'll start looking at a couple of predictions and how lineups are going to go. Derek, they haven't. They've agreed personal terms, but Napoli are notoriously hard to deal with when it comes to negotiations. But because their owner is just absolutely a dickhead when it comes to negotiations. And if he gets slighted at all, he'd rather let the player go for free than you get anything out of it at all, which is hilarious to me. But anyways, game tomorrow. Anil, how do you see with how all the kids kind of performed and how people sort of performed on So I can't remember. It was Saturday. Saturday is when we played. It was. Of course I'd remember. I was at the fucking game. But Saturday, and my curse is now lifted, by the way. The 2 previous games that I was at, we lost to Palace and then we drew to Fulham after Andy Robertson getting sent off the first 15 minutes with a red card. So my curse has now been lifted thanks to the 4-0 thumping we gave Accrington. So nobody can give out to me anymore if I go to a game. Anil, with how a lot of the guys performed, like you obviously seen Endo performing very, very well in the centre-back role and then moving to the midfield role then after that as well. You then had the likes of Conor Bradley coming on, obviously with the whole thing with Trent, and not a lot of people really celebrated his goal. I can tell you for a fact in the Kop end when he scored, it was kind of a response in relation to him scoring with his contract still pending. But given what you've seen against Accrington with the young guys that were there, the likes of Jayden Dance, the likes of Trey Neone, the likes of Rio at left wing as well, who looked electric. How do you see us lining up tomorrow to face off against Forest? And do you think it's going to be a bit of a revenge game for Arne Slot?
So obviously the young player put himself across really well. So it's not going to harm their chances. Like Jayden Dan, for me, whenever I've seen him, he's always looked like really good. Like he's quick, he's sharp, he has that striker instinct. So out of all the young players that did play, Jayden Dan is probably someone that I would like more on the bench now for the rest of the season, because I think you can't teach that striker instinct, and Jayden Dan has it. And that could be valuable for us, especially because NUNEZ hasn't really been scoring. So it will help, I think, having an extra player like that. And I think it's big for Chaser as well. I'm hoping this is just start. Hopefully, this is start now, and it's going to go all good from here. And apparently, it looks really good in training as well. So that's all promising. So I'm hoping to see Chase on the bench from week in, week out. I don't want to see Chaser poured out because ill. Chaser poured out because injured or knock or whatever. I want him involved now. So hopefully he will be a big part for the rest of the season. Yeah, Rio looked lightning. He looked electric. He's a really exciting player. He's the type of player that takes people on. A bit like Ben Doak when he first came into the scene. So those type of players are always exciting to watch, and he got some big potential. Endo performed really well again in classic Endo fashion. He always gives his all, don't he? Kwanzaa had a good game as well. That's probably not been spoken about enough. And I thought Jay McConnell did a good job as well, and same with Tyler Morton. So yeah, youngsters all did well, but I think this game is a massive game against Forest, so we're gonna have to go as strong as possible. I want to see Soboslai in the team because I think we have missed him in the recent games. So yeah, I'll probably go Soboslai, Gardenbert, McAllister, and then I want Salah, Gakpo, and then probably Diaz. But I wouldn't mind Jota in the striker position as well. I'm not bothered who plays up front between them two. And then the back four, I think Robertson has to be left back. I think he's more reliable than Tsimikas, I feel. And then I think hopefully Konate's fit. I have Konate, Van Dijk. I think we're going to need him, especially against like players like Chris Wood. So we want like people who are more dominant and physically dominant, you know. And then Trent and Alisson as well. Yeah, so I agree with that lineup the guy just put there.
Yeah, I don't disagree with it either. Tom, would you have any changes to that lineup? How did you think some of the young guys, I say young guys, but how do you think some of the fringe players kind of performed against Accrington? It was one of the sort of chances that we've seen to see all of them kind of together at once. And obviously, the way Slot confirmed that Chiesa would have started ahead of Rio, if not for Chiesa missing the last 2 days of training with illness. Obviously, then when Chiesa came on in the second half, I don't know if you were at the game either. I think you mentioned that you were in the Kop as well. But it was you seen in the second half coming down towards that goal. He could have had a hat trick within 10 minutes. It's absolutely, and I know Slot said to everybody kind of like temper it. It's Accrington, but you could clearly see how direct and dangerous and how brilliant he is at creating chances coming down that right wing. And he's not even left-footed. Like, he's cutting in onto his technically weak foot. But to me, he looked absolutely electric before he scored his goal. How about you?
Yeah, definitely. We obviously know the talent there, don't we? You know, we've seen it down the years. He's proven it, at the international level, at Serie A level, what a good player he can be. And that is the frustrating thing about it. That there is such a good player in there. That's why it is so annoying that he just can't stay fit. And if he can, I think he's got a massive part to play in the second half of the season. He's not going to be starting loads of games, but if you can bring a player like him on, at least even 80%, up to his level, then he's a game changer. He's someone who can come on and change a game, which I don't think we have loads of them kind of players. He's a bit different. We do have good squad depth, but you have someone like Chiesa who's just a bit different. He's direct, he's quick, he can get a goal. He's just a massive weapon to have off the bench. And, if you're the opposition, you don't want to see him going on for the last 20 minutes. So, we do have to take into account it was Accrington, but the signs are definitely there. And just hope there's a lot more to come from him now because, as I said, he's got a massive part to play if he can, get up to anywhere near his best.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. And it was more so, it's one of them that, look, you get it to Accrington. And I know even Arne Slot said, it's like, look, everybody cool the Jets. It was Accrington. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. But you could see, and even against Southampton when he came on for that last 45, you could see that he's coming in onto his weak foot, and he could have very easily had a goal and an assist in that game. He could have had a hat-trick in this game, and he finally got his goal, which is a beautiful strike. But I really hope he does stay in the squad for the remainder of the season because, as Tom said, even if we have him at 80%, getting him for £12 million was a bargain. For 80% of what he used to be when he was the 100 million player. Wouldn't mind seeing Chiesa up front. He can play all along that front line. He absolutely can. He can play left wing, he can play right wing, and he can play sort of second striker. And Jamie has mentioned here news that just has come in as well that Calvin Ramsey has joined Kilmarnock on loan for the rest of the season. And Stig mentioned in here that Dan's could make the bench with Nunez out. I'd be hard pressed to see Dan's maybe making the bench, not for lack of quality, but more so the lads that end up being on the bench, considering you're going to have Curtis Jones, you're going to have Harvey Elliott, you're going to have Diaz, you're going to have Jota, you're going to have Gakpo, you're going to have Salah, you're going to have the three lads in the midfield, and then you're going to have to think about Kwanzaa, Bradley, Tsimikas, Kelleher. I think he might lose out, considering it's going to be either Diaz or Jota on the bench to come on and replace that striker role, Stig. But you never know. There might be a spot there. If there is, hopefully he can come on and make an impact because, as Anil mentioned, he's one of those that just has that natural instinct as a striker, very similar to a Harry Kane style striker, where he was able to, like the goal against Accrington that he got, he won the ball back during the press, drove it forward, played it out, and then found himself in the right position to get the rebound on the goal following Chiesa's shot. So it's just one of them that there's a natural gift there, and you can kind of see it with some strikers and you can't see it with others, which is fine. But Tom, how would you go lining up against Forest? Are you just going full strength, let's go and try and batter them kind of a job?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's a massive game in it. I think the team really picks itself. I can't see, as one of the comments said, I can't see it be any different to that really. I think personally I would go Jota in this game over Diaz up front, just because I think they are a really strong defence and you're not going to get loads of chances. So the few chances that you do get, I think you'd rather Jota up there than Diaz. So yeah, for me, I'd go Jota tomorrow, but I do think it'll be Salah, Diaz, Gakpo, which I don't mind. But yeah, it's going to be a tough game. As even last season, last season before last, we got beat there, didn't we? And then last season it was last kick of the game goal. So even when they've been down there, we've still struggled at that ground. Even at Anfield, obviously we got beat this year. The year before, I think Nico Williams scored, didn't he, in a 2-2 draw, I think. So they just need to be a bit of a bogey team for us. And as I said, that's when they've been like flirting with relegation. So definitely a really, really tough game on the cards tomorrow. The Trent situation is worrying me a little bit. They are a very good counter-attacking team, and I think if Elanga gets a lot of space down that side, I think that could be a bit of cause for concern for us. But again, it's as simple as if we're at our best, we win. We're a far better team than them, no matter what the table says. So yeah, hopefully just do the business, turn up and get 3 points. But I think a point would be far from a disaster, to be honest, with the cushion that we've got and the way that our contenders are kind of playing at the moment as well. There's definitely
Yeah.
more job points to come from them. So yeah, definitely wouldn't panic with the draw tomorrow.
No, nor would I. And if I look at the games that are tomorrow, if you bear me 1 second, I'm going to see, because I think we're on the 8 o'clock stint. So we'll have to see who plays before us. Chelsea play before us, and that's the only one really. Brentford are playing Man City, and then it's the following day that Arsenal will be playing Spurs at 8 o'clock as well, which is probably going to be a huge game there too. But yeah, Anil, Tom mentioned that he'd rather start Diaz there, and I'll throw this back to Tom as well once I get your answer on it. But he's rather start Jota than Diaz there, purely just to capitalize on some of the chances that we do get. But considering Nottingham Forest are probably going to sit in a low block and try and counter-attack us, do you think it's a better option to have somebody like Jota push their back line back? Or is it going to be better for us tactically to have somebody like a Diaz come short, so to speak, and drop a little bit into the midfield like a false nine role and try and draw their centre-backs out, if that makes sense? Which do you think will probably be the better option for us tomorrow, considering like Forest play with a back five? So it'll be very interesting to see how we kind of go at them, considering we had a bit of difficulty with back fives previously. Like obviously people said, oh, Amorim has kind of found us out, but I'm kind of like, no, he hasn't, because we played against multiple back fives earlier in the season, and 2 of the games we scored 9 goals in total. That was Leverkusen and West Ham. Pumped the 2 of them. One of them in the Champions League away from home, mind you. Which do you think is probably the tactically more apt way that we should go about it, with Diaz dropping deep or somebody like Jota staying there and pinning their centre-backs back?
I mean, that's a big decision, and it Jota or Diaz in the striker position. And for me, it's about who's more likely to take the chance when it comes, and that's Jota. So in this game against Forest, it's going to be hard for us to get chances, and we need to be clinical. And when it comes to scoring goals, you know we can rely on Jota because he's shown that before in the past. Where Diaz, I can't say I completely rely on him in front of goal. So just based on that alone, I'd rather have the players on the pitch who are more likely to give you a goal, and Jota is another one of those. So I would edge for Jota just for that reason.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair. I can see the benefits of both. Tom, you mentioned that you'd rather start Jota there. Is that to, as I said, pin them back, or do you think Jota could possibly play that sort of false nine role and drop a little bit, and just purely for the more clinicalness of him?
Yeah, I think it's just as simple as I was saying. To be fair, you're not going to get many chances against this Forest side. They are, one of the best defenses in the league. Arguably the best this season. They've had some really outstanding performers in that back line. The goalkeeper Sells as well has been very, very good for them. So, yeah, I think it's just a case of you're not going to get many chances. So, I think you'd rather Jota in that situation.
Yeah.
And I think Diaz arguably is a better option off the bench. He's kind of got a bit more to his game when they're tired than Jota. So yeah, I think I'll start Jota and then maybe bring Diaz on the last half an hour when they're tiring a bit. We know how intense Diaz can be. He's got great energy about him. So I think for tomorrow, I think I probably would do it that way around.
No, that's fair. Yeah, I can see it. I think there's benefits to both personally. Like, how Jota is very, very good coming off the bench as well. He just come on and grab a goal or two, and it's just otherworldly, unfortunately. But it's one of them, to be honest with you. And here's probably a curveball that you could really throw into it as well: is would anybody start Gakpo at the striker position and maybe Diaz on the left to have a runner going in behind that back three, and Gakpo playing the hold-up play, similar to what he did in his first 6 months under Klopp? Anil, would you have that, or do you still think Gakpo's best position currently is on the left wing, or do you think that he could possibly really do some damage here at a striker position?
Something to consider for sure. But I like Gakpo on the left wing. I like the way he cuts in and takes those shots and put the balls in. And he's been so good in the left wing spot, so I wouldn't want to change his position. But I can see the benefits of having Gakpo left striker and then have Diaz in the left wing on the counter attacks. I think that could be an interesting idea. And we know with Slot as well, he can tactically tweak things for certain opponents. Like I think against Leverkusen, that was the first game where we had Diaz up front, and that worked wonders because Diaz got the hat trick. So you never know. He might come up with a new idea and might think of might even put Chiesa up front. But it's very unlikely, but you never know what he might do. But my question for you guys is: if NUNEZ was available, would he be an option for you guys to put up front?
Yes, for the point that I made of pinning their centre backs there and occupying space, because I know Thomas obviously might disagree with me on this, with the fact of being clinical with the chances and whatnot, but I think he creates more than those that will give him credit for, purely because he's going to occupy at least two centre backs in that, or at least two defenders in that back four, back five that they play. And as Derek mentions here, Cody and Diaz interchange a lot, so one will end up in the striker position at some point. But if Darwin was available, I'd have him there. Interestingly, I think it was, I'm not sure what game it was. It was very recently. I think it was the game, who were we playing? The game before Accrington, which was Spurs. The second NUNEZ came on, he immediately impacted the game in the fact that their centre-backs all of a sudden just had to immediately go flying backwards, and Salah was able to get him through with a number of through balls and passes and whatnot, and we've seen how that kind of works out against Accrington, where he was able to get past the defence and obviously play it across, and there's Jota there waiting for the strike. It's an interesting one, Anil, because I can see how it would work, but then I also see Tom's point of where you'd need somebody like Jota for that. If you only get one chance in a game on current form this season, who are you going to trust to take that chance? And given form at the moment, you'd obviously be picking Jota. But Tom, I'd imagine you'd be in a similar camp to that. Like, you can understand the tactical aspect of having NUNEZ there to pin their centre backs back and occupy space, but as you mentioned, with a good defense like that, you're only going to get a handful of chances and you need to be clinical. Do you think that the clinicalness of the likes of Gakpo and Salah could make up for the loss of Jota? Or even if NUNEZ was available, are you still starting Jota or Diaz?
Yeah, I'm still starting Jota or Diaz. I just think NUNEZ at the moment is just a bit devoid of confidence, isn't he? He's out of form. He's scored two. I think he's only scored 2 or 3 this season, hasn't he? So he's just, we know he's got a lot to offer, but he's just not in form at the moment. I think NUNEZ is a real confidence player, isn't he? You saw what he did, hit a bit of form last season, that he really kind of looked a different player. But when he hasn't got that confidence about him, which I don't think he does at the moment, I just think he really struggles. And I just don't think tomorrow's really suited for him. They're quite a defensive-minded team, aren't they? Sick in a low block, the counter-attack. And that's not really a game suited to NUNEZ for me. He's obviously, we know he's better against the high line where you can, use that, amazing pace he's got, which, in a game like tomorrow, he's not really going to be able to use that. You need someone who's good on the ball, or you need someone who's clinical, and unfortunately he's not, doesn't fall into either of them at the moment. So, I don't think I'd be starting him anyway.
Would you start Chiesa at striker, considering how direct he was and how he's able to get around players and go at players? Would you start him at striker? Now, obviously, this is just, I don't think Slot will, considering, but given the skill set that we've seen so far and how he's able to get past players, especially who would play in a low block, that we have somebody that can dribble past players like him, and obviously Diaz can as well. But I think Chiesa is just a bit of a bigger body that might be able to outmuscle a couple of people. Would you start Chiesa even at the striker position?
Definitely a bit of a curveball. Like, I mean, he has got like that clinical nature about him, and he has got the kind of the dribbling and the tenacity about him. So he has kind of got the best bit of like kind of best of both worlds in a way. So I don't mind that shot, to be honest. As we know, he does tick a lot of boxes in that forward line, no matter where he plays. And obviously they wouldn't be expecting that, that selection. So but I wouldn't be too against it. But I think I'd go with the more tried and trusted than Jota. We know more what we're going to get from him. Chiesa could give a 10 out of 10, or he could give a 2 out of 10, whereas Jota, I think he's normally somewhere in between majority of the time. So I think for a game like this, I'd rather not gamble too much.
Yeah, Derek here mentioning with his electric pace, hell yes, Chiesa as a striker and his ability to score from outside the box. Yeah, I agree. I think it could work. Like, if you're going to sit in a low block like that, but then like the problem is with a low block, Derek, it's very hard to score from outside the box because you're shooting through so many players, and that's the issue. the low block nearly needs to be done by getting in behind the wing backs or getting in behind the full backs and then cutting the ball back and getting a shot inside the box, ironically. That's more so how you beat a low block, is your wingers getting around the full backs or behind the full backs, or your own full backs overlapping or underlapping into those spaces. So, and then crossing the ball or getting the ball across the box. And I think that obviously could help. But everybody in the comments, I want you guys to throw in who your front three would be. So who would your front three be? So everybody get it into the comments of who their front three would be, because I'd be interested to see people's combinations of it, because I'm just going back up like that and obviously seeing everything here. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for that, please make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure you have your notifications on for all future streams and videos so that you never miss out as well. We'll be live again tomorrow from 10 p.m. British Standard Time, because that will be just after the game. Trent being close to Salah could be key. That's very true. We'll talk about some key players now as well, and we'll just sort of take a look at it. Who's probably going to be the key players in this? Tom, who are you going to have as... So I'll ask for the top three key players in the game as sort of the key matchups that you see that are going to unfold. You mentioned, obviously, Alanga getting down that left flank for them and the right flank for us with Trent. That's obviously one matchup you'd be looking at. Is there any other ones?
Yeah, I think that's definitely the key one for me. I think that might be where the game's won and lost, that one. Aside from that, Robbo maybe would be Hudson-Odoi maybe on that side. You know, Robbo's...
I think Carter would absolutely kill himself if Hudson-Odoi scored. Or if Gibbs White scores a goal tomorrow, I'm absolutely going to... I'm going to leave that group chat, genuinely. Carter will be absolutely pulling the plum of himself.
Yeah, Robbo, you don't quite know what you're going to get from him as much this season. Obviously, in years gone by, he's been so reliable, but you know, this year he has been a bit more up and down. So I think that one could be key. And aside from that, maybe Milankovic against Jota or Diaz. I think he's been outstanding this season at centre back. So you know, if you can get a bit of change out of him or not, could be a key factor in how the game goes. Yeah, I think he has been probably in the team this season this year in terms of Premier League centre backs. So yeah, I think, like I said, if you can get any change out of him, then you might, you know, that sets you up better. But you know, he has been rock solid. So who knows if we can. Aside from that, maybe probably the only other ones, maybe Gibbs White and Gravenberch. Obviously, Gibbs White is good at kind of picking up them pockets between the lines. He is dangerous with them passes, and he has got a good shot on him as well. So Gravenberch will have to be defensively disciplined as well tomorrow, which he has been all season, to be fair. But that's another test for him in that role. Big test for him in that role tomorrow.
Yeah, I can't disagree with them, to be perfectly honest. And Neil, do you have any different ones? Now, this is... if you told me at the start, like 12 months ago, that this would be a conversation that we'd be having, that Chris fucking Woods and battle with Virgil van Dijk, that alone is hilarious in itself to be even saying that. But it's not wrong. Chris Woods has been absolutely phenomenal as a season so far, and obviously it's him and Konate, Virgil van Dijk and Konate, that will be dealing with Chris Woods most of the game. But I think they should have a fine game. As Tom mentioned, I think the biggest worry that we have is Alanga down that right-hand side against Trent. Anil, do you have any specific battles that you'd be looking forward to tomorrow? And anybody as well in the comments, please throw in whatever battles you think as well. Because obviously Stig mentioned here with Virgil van Dijk and Chris Woods. Anybody else have any sort of battles that they're interested in tomorrow, throw them in there and we'll talk about them a little bit. But Anil, we've mentioned obviously Virgil van Dijk, Woods. We've mentioned both wing fullbacks and how they'll deal with the wingers when you have Alanga on one side, and then you obviously have Hudson-Odoi on the other. It'll be interesting to see how that all does play out. But where's your key matchups in the game?
I think in terms of matchup, I think Tom has covered them all. I just like to point out, I think McAllister could be a really important player tomorrow, because he's the kind of player who can unlock defensive with his passing. And I think he's good at making those runs as well, or telling it run forward. So he could be the way he would break through the Forest defence. And I think Gakpo as well, with his ability to strike a ball from distance, that could be important. And I think the biggest battle would probably be Trent to get the Langer. And I think Trent is the biggest player anyway in general, because not only going forward, also defensively. Trent always had a question mark, don't worry about his defensive work. He can be okay. He can be shocking like it was against United. So I think that's probably the biggest battle. And then I'd probably say, Jota against Milikovic and Murillo as well.
Yeah, it's something that somebody mentioned here. What Brendan said, Dom. That's a very interesting matchup because he's going to be dealing with an awful lot of Anderson, Dominguez, Murillo, and Milenkovic, and sort of trying to get the ball off them and chasing those sort of 4 players down. That's going to be very interesting. And obviously, it all depends, I suppose, on the lineup, because I'm expecting Szoboszlai to play. And Brendan goes on to mention our most important players, the team doesn't play anywhere near as good when he's missing. He'd be very true over the last number of games. I don't think Jones is a 10, and I really don't think he should continue to be played in the 10 because it's just not him. He doesn't release the ball quick enough. He doesn't sort of have the eye level for a pass. He's fantastic. He'd be fantastic in the pivot, but I don't think he'd be good in the 10, especially in this game at a low block. Jimmy's asking, would you take a draw? Tom mentioned earlier, he said it wouldn't be a disaster, but personally, I kind of want to go there and win. I don't want a team to be us unable to get a win against a certain team at least once in the season. We already beat United, but that 2-2 draw obviously stings a wee bit, but we've already beaten them this season, so nobody will sort of be angry about that. You're supposed to win. You're not supposed to lose away from home, and you're supposed to win at home, but we done the opposite in that sense. So we still got the expected points from that of 4 total. Tanya here mentioning no draw, it'll be a close game. Stig mentioned I take my chances. A draw isn't too bad, though, and that we need to win to keep the pressure on. Derek, you'd be correct in that and saying that we do need to win to keep the pressure on. And Derek mentioned it as well. I'm sure Slot would have analysed the home game and may surprise us tactically tomorrow. That wouldn't shock me because that man is an eye for detail. But a couple of the matchups that I'd be interested in. First of all, the Szoboszlai one. Second one then is going to be how Cody Gakpo does, especially as Anil mentioned, cutting in onto his right foot and blasting those shots across goal. That could prove key because he has an innate ability to be able to sort of lift it over the defenders but get it dipped in time that it's in the goal. And he's done that a number of times so far this season, much to Carter's chagrin in doing so. But that's another one to watch. The other one then that I would be very interested in is as I said, genuinely the set pieces, because Harvey Elliott could come on as an impact sub, Tanya. I could see that happening, yeah. The set pieces, because we've been absolutely abysmal from set pieces this season, and I think Forest are really, really, really good at defending set pieces. If we can crack a goal there, I think that might be the making or breaking of this game. Now, whether that's a free kick and Trent just pings one top bins, that I don't care about. A corner will be great if you got somebody like Van Dijk or somebody like that to get a goal for us. But it's the set piece battle itself across the game of how we're going to fare with that, because and the fullbacks as well, both of them. Derek mentioned in here as well, fullbacks will have a busy game considering the mistakes Robbo's made this season and Trent's performance against United, and a lot of mistakes Trent has made as well this season. It seems that there's a lot of mistakes in both of them this season, unfortunately, and I don't know what it is. Maybe against United, I won't lie, I still pin both of the goals against United on Trent because they both came down his side and he just was half-arsed jogging back and just didn't really give two shits about it. And that just pissed me off royally, personally speaking. But that's just me. I know other people didn't take it as that. But it'll be interesting to see how the tactics line up tomorrow. And as Derek mentioned, like, may surprise us tomorrow tactically. Normally you'd expect us to line up in the 4-2-4. But yeah. It'll be fun to watch. But what we're going to do now is we're going to do score predictions, and we're going to do who's going to score before we finish up. We'll finish up in about 45 minutes today. Tom, give me your score predictions for tomorrow, and who do you think is going to score tomorrow for either us or Forest if you see both teams scoring?
I'll go 2-1. I'll go Alanga for them. I'll go Jota and Gakpo for us. I think it'd be a tight one.
Yeah.
So yeah, take any win, no matter how it comes. Just get the 3 points and get closer to that title.
Yeah, I suppose that's really the crux of it. Just I couldn't care less if they score 3 own goals. Just get the 3 points, to be perfectly honest with you. And Neil, how do you see it? Do you see both teams scoring? Do you think we'll keep a clean sheet here, or is this going to be, as a lot of people are saying, a 1-goal victory, either 2-1 or 3-2?
I'm thinking either 2-1 or a 1-0 win for us. But I'll go 2-1. And for us, it would be Jota and Konate from the corner. For Forest, it will be Give White.
Just to fuck. Oh god, that chat's going to be insufferable when he scores. Absolutely insufferable. Carter, if you're watching, I love you. I do. We all love you, and you're one of the nicest kids around there, and you're one of the nicest guys around there. But fuck me, your footballing takes. But yeah, it's genuine. Anybody that has seen Carter on stream, and people will attest to it. The problem is that you can't get mad at him because he's so nice and so genuine. And that's the point that pisses off. Brendan here with a clean sheet for Liverpool, more scoring one and assisting Gakpo for the second one. I would love that because I have him captain in FPL. And that is to be confirmed for tomorrow. I haven't changed anything yet. Stig mentioning 3-1, Salah, Szoboszlai, and Jota for goals. I wouldn't mind that. I'd love a little 3-1 victory where it's just comfortable towards the end, where where it's 1-0, then 1-1, then 2-1, then 3-1, and we just kind of coast the last 15 minutes of it and see it out. I'd love that, but I know for a fact it's not going to be that. If your arsehole isn't perpetually puckered as a Liverpool fan, you're not doing it right. Who is the ref? I haven't a clue who the ref is, actually. That should be on Premier League if somebody can figure that out for me. Wouldn't shock me if they brought out the Legion of Doom, however. Officials for game week 21 Premier League. Match officials for game week 21. Let's have a look here. Okay, load up for me. No, I don't want to look at the Chris Kavanagh. Oh God. Stuart Burke, James Mainwaring, fourth official, John Busby, VAR, John Brooks, and assistant VAR, Derek Eaton. Chris Kavanagh. Fuck my life. Yeah, Kavanagh and Brooks is on VAR. But yeah, who's the ref? And Stig, not a good one, Tanya, not a good one. The Doomsday Squad is out. But yeah, where did I see it? Jim Hughes asked for us just to finish off with the links in relation to the new Greek Scouser that we're going to have, Tzimas from Nuremberg. Give me 2 seconds. I'll just have a look at him here because I still have his bits up. I'm going to pull it up here now. I'm going to share the screen and we'll just talk about that for sort of the last 5 minutes of this and we'll have a look at everything and see here. Go back here and we'll media assets and we take you guys away. So looking at this, it seems to be that now, bear in mind, this is in the Bundesliga 2. And this is against teams in like what League 1 maybe is probably the right sort of area of where you're looking at this. But he's 19. He seems to be quite good with regards to his dribblers tackled, his tackles and interceptions, and the percentiles he lands in his blocks. But the one that I'm really interested in is his non-penalty goal XG and his non-penalty goals, along with the progressive carries and the progressive take-ons. This screams somebody like a Chiesa again, where he's just absolutely bonkers with being able to dribble the ball and being able to carry the ball forward and also getting goals with relation to it. Anil, I don't think any of us have really sort of seen much of him. If anybody has, that's some dedication to be watching second-tier Bundesliga games. But just from looking at the numbers and any compilations you've seen online in relation to him, is there any sort of like Florian Plettenberg is the one that sort of released it out. So do you think this is a Michael Edwards laptop find, or is it possibly just some paper talk in relation to agents trying to get people to buy him? Because at the minute he's on loan from POAK, or I don't know how they pronounce their name, from Greece. And there's an obligation to buy. So the whole idea of it is that Nuremberg would buy him with that obligation and then sell him on with add-ons to us immediately after that nearly. Does this, I don't know, it's just a bit weird for me how this whole deal would work. Does anything on that sort of graph jump out at you at all?
Yeah, it definitely screams Michael Edwards laptop signing. I think if we had a second club, this would make complete sense for it. Like for us to sign these type of players and loan them out to the second club. And it's probably definitely something that we've been focusing more on now, trying to find these young talents to utilize. And I think we're trying to save money in the long run as well. So that, we're not spending 40, 50 million on a player where we're just signing a player who's got great potential to become one of those type players. And this guy definitely has it in terms of his attributes. He looked quick. He looks like he got everything really, like a proper centre striker. So it sounds exciting for me. It sounds exciting because, like, as Liverpool fans, we always complain when like a lot of these type of players go to like a Brighton or a Bournemouth, and and say like, why did we sign him now? Why did we sign him then? And why are we spending 40, 50 million on him now? So I'm okay with it. It seems interesting enough. I know some people were saying like it's going to hinder Jade and Dan's. I don't think it really will, because Dan's is still quite early. Like, we hadn't really had a loan move or had proper 13 minutes yet. So I would probably send Jade and Dan the loan in the Championship so he can, get some more 13 experience and develop his game. And then this guy probably a bit more ready than Jade and Dan's as well. So he could probably play a role if we bring in the summer, like a little first, like off the bench rotation. Yeah. So I think the more players like that, the better for us.
Yeah, as Anil mentioned, Tom, this is very much kind of doing what Brighton do in finding these young talents in the lower leagues across Europe and getting them. And I think, as a lot of people mentioned, when Carlos Baleba was got, like, we should have gone for the guy they were going to replace Caicedo, but obviously we don't really have the ability to play that young of a player, especially when we're going for a title. But is there anything here that jumps out for you? And would you think this is more of a shrewd move, or is this more of the Michael Edwards laptop kind of a move?
Yeah, I think I'll go with the latter on that one, to be honest. Found it a bit of a strange sign, to be fair. I mean, I'm never against signing young talents. He does look a promising player, but it's the Bundesliga 2. Can you really read too much into that standard? Bundesliga 2 is probably equivalent to what League 1 at best in England. So
yeah,
I mean, would you really want to be signing a League 1 player, no matter how well they were doing? I'm not sure you would. So, like I said, I mean, I'm never against signing young talent, but I think if we're going to sign a striker, I'd rather sign someone who's ready to make the step now, ready to get 15, 20 goals a season and be reliable. Because we do have the options up there. We do have Jota, we do have Darwin, we do have Jadon Dans. So we're not short of numbers, but we're short on quality. I'm not sure of this guy. I mean, he could be in a few years, but he's not someone who's going to come in next year and get you 20 goals, is he? And I think that's, if we're going to sign a striker, that's what I'd want, to be honest. So yeah, for me, I'm not against it, but it certainly wouldn't be a priority signing for me. As I said, if you're going to sign a striker, go and get someone who's reliable and ready now to deliver.
Yeah, I think you need to sign the sort of ready-made one now rather than one that's going to be ready in a couple of years. But yeah, it's interesting, really. I am very sort of, not skeptical is probably the wrong word, but I think it's just one of them that we're just going to kind of have to wait and see. And it's not so. What's the word that I'm looking for? Strikers don't pass that much. If you look at Diaz's stats when he plays there, if you look at Jota's stats when he plays there, if you look at Nunez's stats when he plays there, you look at Haaland, you look at Isak, they barely get about 20 passes off a game. So it's just one of those that they're not a passing position. They're the ones that receive the passes. But what's good about this is somebody with that many progressive carries doesn't necessarily need the pass to be perfect. They can go and make it of their own as well, which is the key point of that. To answer your question, J Muse, how are City making signings? Go and look at who they're signing. and look at the money that they're currently on at the moment. So they signed the guy, the Uzbekistan guy. He's on $3,000 a week. They're fully, and also he's an unknown. He was with Lens for 12 months and they bought him for $100,000. And now all of a sudden they're selling him for 40 million. And now City are buying him for 40 million, should I say. And he's a City player now. That's not how City used to be operating. It's a 19-year-old, 20-year-old guy that's there for the future and is a depth position. They're also after that Reyes guy from Brazil. And I think I showed this to Tom, and Tom didn't believe me when I showed him this, but Reyes is on £60 a week in Brazil. And it's he's on about $3,000 a year in Brazil. I can't remember his first name, but that Reyes centre back that they're interested in. So if you notice who they're purchasing, the Marmoush signing, I don't think is going to work for them because it's not what they need. The two centre back signings are more probably what they need. However, if you look at who they're signing and why they're signing them, they're signing dirt cheap players that are on dirt cheap deals that really won't go up from there. But see, Brendan, they're signing them for the championship because the Premier League will have to go and will give them such a slap of sanctions. And it probably won't happen now till next season, but it'd be hilarious if they miss Champions League this season and then end up getting relegated next season. It's one of them where they're prepping for the championship because the championship is an independent body compared to the Premier League. The EFL is a different body, so they can't just relegate them because the EFL would have to accept them, and they don't have to accept them. So they'll have to give them enough of a points deduction that they guarantee relegation. And as well, Stig mentioned in here, every single one of them would have a termination clause, or at least the smart ones would, like Marmoush would. The other two, they're kids, they'll bounce straight back, they'll be fine. But that's a big point as well. But we're not going to get into City talk because that could take up a whole other hour, unfortunately, and I don't think we have that time, I'm afraid. But we are going to finish it there, guys. I want to thank everybody for joining us on this Monday evening for our pre-match stream. Thank you so much for everybody getting involved in the comments, and obviously Tom and Anil as well for your opinions and your thoughts. Hope everybody has a wonderful Monday evening. If you haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure your notifications are on for all future streams and videos, and we'll see you guys tomorrow again for the game against Nottingham Forest. But we'll see you guys soon. Hope everybody has a wonderful evening, and we'll see you guys hopefully after a victory tomorrow. Bye-bye.